All right, we're back with another episode of The Next Step, the most important step a man can take. And I'm talking to a good friend of mine. His name is Jason Ackerman. I did a little intro that you guys may have heard right before this, but Jason and I actually work together. We've worked together for years, tangentially, for CrossFit.com, teaching seminars, but he's currently my boss, actually. So technically he could fire me for anything that comes on this. But I wanted to have him on because he's got a different approach to life than I do. I've often heckled him for being like so optimized as a human. Like right now, if you watch in the video, he's got these like blue blocker glasses on. If he wanted to, he could start walking on the treadmill that's down below his desk. He's like sauna every morning, giant bottle, sleeps ideally, like all this kind of stuff. And kids don't really often cater to an optimized lifestyle. So I'm curious in his life how he handles all that and where he's made concessions and what that's looked like. So that's why I wanted to bring him on. But before we jump in, Jason, why don't you give me your fatherhood credentials? Like how many kids you got, how long you've been a father, like talk to me about that stuff.
2 kids. Madison, my daughter, was born February 9th, 2021. So she'll be 4 next year. And then Bodie, born May 22nd, 23. So he'll be 2 next year. So almost 4 years I've been a father. I don't know. Does it count from the moment your wife is pregnant? From the moment? I mean, I don't
know. I mean, what do you
right
count as? When did you feel like you were actually a father?
I still don't. I don't know. I'll tell you when I do. Probably when Madison was born.
Okay.
But I'm interested. I'm excited to talk about what you briefed there because I think about it a lot. So I wasn't sure what we were talking about, so I'm excited.
Well, fatherhood stuff. But I mean, just going off of what you just said there, like, was there a moment, you said right as she was born, you felt like you were a father, but was there a switch for you, or was it something that was gradual? Like, what was that process for you in your own head?
Well, Madison was a product of IVF. So
I didn't know that.
I suppose it was more so when Roz and I decided we wanted to have children and then realizing, it wouldn't be normal, if you will, it'd be a little more challenging. And then, really making it was effort, right? It wasn't just like fun and games having sex to have a kid, right? Like we had to do all the tests and all that. So, in those moments where it's like, we're doing this and we're trying to have a family.
Okay. So I had no idea she was a product of IVF. What was that process like? Why did you go that route? What was, I mean, if you're willing to talk about it, what was that?
Yeah.
Was
lots of masturbating.
Yeah, nice.
So we were still in Florida at the time, and we'd probably been married about a year and just casually having unprotected sex and realizing we weren't getting pregnant. And then we went into a fertility specialist and nothing really came about. And Florida was like really slow. But then we moved to Colorado and we found this great place, CCRM. I forget what the acronym stands for, but it was a lot of fertility tests. And we never really got a true reason as to why we were struggling other than, Roz was a tiny bit older at the time, maybe like 37, 38. And, they pull the eggs, you take your sperm, they implant it in Roz. And for Madison, the first one took.
Huh. Wait,
so we're really, really lucky.
So you don't, there was no diagnosis of
No, because then Bodhi was natural.
What's that about?
I mean, there's a high likelihood Roz had an affair. That could be
fair.
that
makes sense.
That could be why. I mean, Bodhi's black. Bodhi's black, which I think is strange.
Yeah, it's super strange. Makes it real hard to understand how that's the case. Okay.
No, it just there's things like once you've been pregnant, it's easier. You're a little less we were in the process of just about to begin IVF again for him, and I mean, I remember it was when we first did Enlifted at Rife. The team went in, so this is like two years ago, and we had sex right before I left,
right?
And just for fun, and
as you do,
Roz took a pregnancy test a month later, and she was like, "No, and we were like in shock.
Yeah.
And
How
she's
long of
pregnant.
trying was it before you went to IVF for the first one?
Like a couple of years, because that was, like I said, we were in Florida, just like not really like trying, but also not trying, if you get it. And
Yeah, yeah.
we were just like, that's strange. Like, you'd think you'd be pregnant.
Right. Well, I mean, that being said, it is quite a mysteriously difficult process at times. Like sometimes, I know for me, it was like our first one was a one and done. It was like, guess what? You're pregnant. And there was one opportunity for it to happen, and it happened. But then it was like, second one was, 6.5 months of trying, like really aggressive trying, matching ovulation schedules, doing all this stuff, like getting pregnant, having a miscarriage, more trying. And it was like, it felt like it was pulling teeth. And we had already had one and done experience. So it's just so different from kid to kid. So I don't think I think we spend so much time growing up trying not to get pregnant that we're like, it must be so easy. And then when you're like doing the thing and it doesn't happen, you're like, huh.
Yeah, like all that time in college, I was safe and all this, and it's like, now we can't.
Totally. Now we can't. But then you did, which, I wonder how much of that is psychosomatic around like the stress of not conceiving and what that plays in your own psychology around like worry. And I don't know, like, I wonder.
Well, that's how it was with Bodhi. Like I was saying, we just kind of were like, cool, we're going to start IVF again. Like, I was leaving, let's just have sex. And there it was. And now we assume that we wouldn't again. So we now are just back to, normal unprotected sex.
Right. And are you done?
No, I do not want a third child. I do not want a third child.
You do not, but you're now having unprotected sex.
Yeah, we just think the likelihood of it happening again is low. But you never
know what? I'm gonna curse you right now. You're gonna get pregnant with a third within.
Yeah, I mean, Roz is 40. I'm 46. We're getting older.
Within 6 months, you'll be pregnant with a third. I'm throwing it out there right now. You take that, Jason Ackerman. Of the two, which one was more difficult?
Oh, Madison's so much more difficult.
You mean now, or just as a baby in general?
From the day she was born.
Why?
She's like a teenager, but she's 3.
What does that mean?
she just doesn't. She's got such a personality. Bodhi's happy-go-lucky all the time. I mean, she will throw him on the ground, he'll smash his head, he'll cry for like a second, and then be fine. Where like she will just have tantrums all the time. Now, that being said, when she is just with me, she's much better. It's mom. It's when mom is around.
Interesting. Do you draw a correlation to why that's the case with mom?
I'm much harder on her. I treat her like an adult, which I don't know if that's right or wrong.
Why do you go that route?
Because I think she's smart and understands. So last night, for example, she's having a tantrum, and I'm like, "What's going on?" Like I just always go like, "What's up? Like what's going on?" And she's like, incoherent, screaming, and I'm like, "Hey, I can't help you because I don't understand you." I was like, "But if you want to go in your room, I'll sit and chill with you, and you could be upset." She's like, "Okay." Then she's fine.
And what would Roz do in that scenario? That would be different.
Probably more soft parenting, like, "Oh, tell me about your feelings." Like that.
Okay.
I think soft parenting is not a real thing. I don't think it's a real thing.
Soft parenting?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a wide range of like what's considered. There's a term that gets thrown around nowadays called gentle parenting.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
And it's like, but it's such a wide ranging. It like doesn't really mean anything. It just means like on its like weakest end terms or like the loosest terms. It's like you don't beat your kids, but like you still hold boundaries. You still do all this stuff. You still all that stuff. But on its like furthest end, like it's like you let the kid dominate you. And it and that's the one that like gets a really bad name because you'll see these parents who are like, "I'm gentle parenting," and it's like, no, you're being abused by a child.
Oh, you see it like when I take them out, and you could tell the parents that are like, "Oh, that must be really hard."
Yeah,
like she's 3. Nothing is hard.
Nothing is hard. Life is very easy for a 3-year-old, while simultaneously being the hardest it's ever been for them in their entire lives. Yeah, it's fair. What was your relationship with your father like?
Ooh, that's a good one. We getting deep now of it. You turned it. That went quick. That's interesting. So I grew up with divorced parents. I would say
divorced.
when did they get divorced? Probably when I was like 4 or 5, very young, and then they were both remarried by the time I was like 5 or 6. Like within 2 years, they were both remarried to my step parents, who are all still around.
Okay.
So I would say I had a normal relationship with all 4 of my parents. Like nothing outrageously good and nothing outrageously bad.
Okay. And then what is it like now? Is the relationship with your parents?
It's different. It's different now with kids. So I make a really big effort to make sure they see them and talk to them, because no one lives here right now. So, there's a lot of FaceTiming, and I really I wind up talking to them more than I would without kids.
Right. You seem similar to me. How do I say this without, since I'm doing the same, you seem like you're willing to prioritize yourself in order to make sure that you're good for the rest of the world. So do you have you ever struggled with prioritizing yourself, like in your own well-being?
No. But when you were saying that earlier, it was sometime this year, maybe it was around the games, maybe it was the games when we were together. We talk about values, and my 3rd, 4th, and 5th value somewhat fluctuate depending on the season of my life and whatever. Like excellence or loyalty are always important to me, and meaningful work. But health and family have kind of been the top 2 since marriage, right? Prior to marriage, family wasn't on there. When I say family, it's like Roz, Madison, Bodie.
Right.
And I was like, oh, when I'm stressed, it's because my values are out of whack. And I'm trying to prioritize health, but if I simply prioritize family, my values are easier to maintain. Because it's easier to, but then the flip side is like, if I don't take care of myself, I'm not who I need to be for them.
Totally. Well, you and I actually probably think about this a similar amount. I think about it all the time, trying to get to the root of like what I need to do, right? Like what are the things that I have to get done in a day, or how do I have to feel, or what do I have to approach in order to be okay? And there's like this like hierarchy, I've journaled about it a ton for myself, and I can never really pinpoint exactly what the true hierarchy is, because depending on how healthy I am, mentally and physically, stuff like jumps up and down. Like sometimes it's higher up the hierarchy, sometimes it's lower down the hierarchy. Like one for me that's a really interesting one is like intimacy. Like intimacy and sex with my wife is not important until it is. Mm-hmm. Like it's important, like it needs to happen, but it's at the bottom of the tier of everything, unless it's been too while, and then it starts bumping its way up this like tier list, and it makes everything else worse if I don't prioritize it.
Well, that's like sales essentially, right? Like if I go out to dinner and eat this amazing steak, and I just finished it, now's not the time to sell me a steak.
Right,
but
right.
I'm starving and haven't eaten for a week, I'll pay whatever you want for that steak, right? So it's
right.
It's when you need it the most. Yeah. I think it's challenging because, well, to your point, like I think about it a lot, because there's a point in time where you've brought it to my attention a few times where it's like, at what point are you too rigid? And I think there is a point where it's like, if I'm so rigid that I'm now unhealthy because I can't be rigid, that's a problem.
Right. Just for people listening, the context is Jason, like I said, he optimized himself, but we always go and we stay in these hotels and stuff, and he complains about his ability to sleep because he doesn't have like blackout windows, and he doesn't have his 8-sleep mattress, and he's got this like huge routine. And I'm like, I can sleep in all my clothes in the corner of a room, and I'm not saying that's better necessarily, but it's definitely less fragile than somebody who struggles with sleep because he's lacking all this stuff. So I made the comment, you're so optimized that you've unoptimized yourself and made yourself fragile, which
no,
I think what you're thinking.
But it's true. And no different than the person, like, I need to do these 3 things in the morning in order to work hard.
Totally.
Well, what happens if you don't do them? Can you not work hard now? Right. So we went to the San Diego summit, and I purposely was like, okay, how little of my routine can I stick with?
Huh.
And it was a more enjoyable trip. I mean, the one difference was Roz came with me, which made it a different dynamic, right? So, but it was, I didn't pack every supplement I take. I didn't pack food for the day.
But it was intentional that you didn't do this.
Yeah, no, on purpose, right? And then
Oh,
like
interesting.
I was like, I'm gonna go out to dinner wherever the crew goes, and it was less stressful.
Yeah, I bet it was because it
Yeah.
like, and I bet you realized how much like you don't really need those things. They do help you optimize your life, but it's like it's more the mindset around them. It's like that larger emotions, how you feel about what's going on, not what's actually going on, right?
Yeah, and and also like you're not gonna get unhealthy in 3 days from not having like I still tried to get a good night's sleep, which I did. I still exercised. I still ate 80 to 90% like I normally would, right? So you're not, it's like someone that takes a week off of training, like I'm not fit. I'm like, that's impossible. You cannot lose muscle in a week unless you're like sedentary and injured, right? Like you're fine.
You're just dandy. So
Yeah.
what are some of the so I alluded to it in the beginning of like it's hard to be these kinds of levels of rigid when you have children because they disrupt, I mean, very intimately and quickly they disrupt sleep, as well as, like you'll have this workout plan and so all of a sudden they're sitting next to you and they're like, I'll work out with you. And you're like, oh, will you now? Like this is going to be this, my hour-long session turned into 10 minutes of burpees, and like,
Right.
so have you noticed places that you can be more flexible and places that maybe you have to be more flexible, or have you like what's the thing that you kind of have to maintain for yourself to just have that base level? Because we what's that category, like you said, physical health, but if you prioritize that too much without the family, and then it's kind of like that balance, like where do you optimize, I would say?
I mean, for like basic health needs, a good night's sleep, which is somewhere between 7 and 8 hours, which is fairly common here. I mean, luckily Roz is the primary overnight caregiver, but they both sleep relatively through the night at this point. So, a good night's sleep, eating healthy, which I'm currently like pretty paleo, like mostly meat and berries, which also was a big change for me from macros, and that was also in an effort to be less rigid. I find like I'm far more flexible with my eating this way, and then some sort of exercise.
What do you deem exercise? What qualifies for you? What's like the minimum dose?
I look at it like on a broader scale. Like I don't look at it only daily because, like today, for example, I did an hour of jujitsu and then about an hour walk
Nice.
in the sun. Right, like it's still beautiful out here. Like on my walk, I was on the call with Fern the entire time. So it's like we're doing business, but I'm like moving. Some days, like I did 3 days in a row of, I would say, hard training. Like tomorrow, probably just going for a walk. Like if I just get outside and go for like some sort of hour of movement, I would call it like a walk on a light day, jiu-jitsu, a CrossFit class, but something like that. If I move daily, and it's almost always more than an hour, yeah. But like that's my like cool like if we're traveling,
Yeah.
that's cool. If I get that in, I'm very, very happy.
Yeah. I think it's thinking about your life is actually, and your way you move through stuff is actually kind of interesting for me because I think the we get the whole like discipline is freedom, and you got the like extreme ownership stuff from Jocko, and like I know you've kind of maximized your life to really hone in on certain areas, and you've had the freedom to do so. / you've very intentionally built that. But I think that those things allow you the eventual freedom to not use those things. But going there and having them at some point in time gives you the confidence and understanding of how to live within discipline and structure. And then there will be times in life where you step away. But if you've never gone there, I think that that's one of the places that we let ourselves down is like, I know for me, I've struggled in a lot of my discipline because it was never part of my life. I just did stuff for fun. Like I'm the other end of the spectrum where like building discipline in my life where like I'll wake up super early and I'll do my sauna and I'll have this routine, was really essential to me moving forward. And then at one point in time, that routine, kind of like similar to you, the routine was not serving me the same way. So now I remove things from the routine, and it's like, okay, now I can be a little bit more malleable. So I don't know. I like the fact that you've kind of come full circle, but because it's given you the education to like, you know what to do and how to do it and when you want to do it. And like, that's the point of it all in my mind.
Yeah, and I think like when I struggle understanding people that don't eat right or exercise, it's that. It's like,
right,
that's my norm.
Right.
So it's like, I don't really have to think much about it every day. Like, I will find an hour and I will eat right.
Right.
So it's just the way I live. So when people like talk about like food and they talk about exercise, I'm like, and in part, I get really, not to go down too much of a tangent, it's like, I think people put way too much effort and energy into less important things. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, here's a random example. Like, you have a beautiful tattoo. You also happen to be fit, right? But it's like, people will get these like massive artworks, and it's like, and then they don't work out. And I'm like,
right,
you're trying to beautify your body, but you're not taking care of it.
right. Yeah, I mean,
and I don't think
that kind of goes back to our battle about talking about...
Yeah, no, body, but also it's just like, or like, I care about the car I drive or the clothes I wear. And it's like, but you don't, the only thing that's important in your life, literally to your life, is your body. And I don't mean from an aesthetic point of view. Like,
yeah,
aesthetics is a nice byproduct of it, but it's like, if you're not eating right and moving daily, your body's not going to be there. The car doesn't matter.
Totally. And but I also think that like your willingness to embrace difficult things is kind of part of your identity. You know, your willingness to go a bit headlong at things that are slightly difficult.
It's funny, like, I don't think that about myself.
Well, when you've chosen them, like when you've been like, this is the thing I'm doing, you're like, there's nothing that's going to prevent you from doing that, no matter how difficult it is. And that's kind of been your superpower. It's like, I'm going to put my head this direction, and I'm just going to go this way. I'm going to create a product to sell. I don't have any information. Doesn't matter. I'm going to figure it out. And then I bring this up because it blows my mind, because you just do it. You know, like that's
to me, that's the norm, right? You're right. Like,
and that's horribly uncomfortable in a very realistic way of like, I don't have the information, but I'm going to put myself out there and do this. And maybe you don't feel that way about it, but because you've made this decision to do the difficult thing, because like regardless, like that's objectively difficult to do. Similarly, going to do jujitsu. Jujitsu is objectively difficult to do.
Let me tie it to parenthood right there, because this is something I've been struggling hard with. This, like I said, I'm hard on her because I don't want her to be weak in life, right? Like, and I think people coddle their kids to a fault. And like, I will be your number one fan and I will support you, but I want you to go through challenges. And I struggle because I'm like, am I doing that for myself? Right. Like, I don't want to be. I do not want to be a hypocrite. I cannot expect my 3-year-old to be tough if I'm not tough, right? So you bring up jiu-jitsu. Like, I was in a deep choke today. Somebody had me in a deep triangle, and all I was thinking is, I would tell Madison to keep fighting.
Right.
Right? Like, and I was like, you cannot be, like, I'm not going to pass out. Like, I'm not going to go to that extreme, but I'm like, you got to fight a little bit. Like, and it's important to me to live that. Like, I appreciate hearing that because I don't always see that in me, but it's important for me to lead by example when it comes to the kids.
Totally. And I think that allows you to feel good about yourself as a human more than anything. I think the dissonance between what you say and what you do is one of the most heartbreaking things I see from parents. When I see parents who say one thing and then do another, like the classic is where you yell at them to stop yelling, where you're like, stop yelling. And you're like, what the, like, that's, you're doing it. Like, you can't do that. Like, that's such a bad one. Or like, you know, eat healthy and then you're eating like a giant sack of crap, or like work hard and you don't, or like follow your dreams and you're like, you never did. And it's like that dissonance is hard to take you seriously as a human.
Well, and at 3 years old, so it's probably about 6 months, a little longer ago, I taught her, I was like, hey, what's the rule? And it was always do your best. And I was like, I don't care what you're doing. We go to gymnastics, we go to dance, we go to wrestling. Like, always do your best. And I was like, I need to make sure that she sees that in me. Right. That's kind of what I was alluding to, right? And it's like, that means, hey, fight through this triangle, or when the business needs you, dive in, or like show up on time and be present, all those things. I'm like, I need to make sure one day when I'm gone, she's going to be like, oh, Dad taught me well.
Yeah. Have you seen I've showed you like the support matrix thing, right? Like the one that was you essentially have your little quadrants, like your 4 quadrants. And on the y-axis, you have high challenge and low challenge. And then on the x-axis, you have high support and low support. So essentially, you've got 4 quadrants. And the idea is that you want to have both high challenge and high support. So you want to basically expect a lot, but deeply support the child. Versus something like, there's the other types of parenting, which is like the high challenge, low support, and that's like kind of like the really domineering parent who's like, just get it done, you blah blah blah, and like there's no love, or like, this is how you do it, or grace given, or anything like that. So it's super high challenge, low support. And then there's the other side of it, which is like low challenge, high support, where it's like, you're doing great, good job, you're awesome, but you never ask anything from them.
Yeah, that's what I want to avoid, yeah.
Right, and then there's the total apathetic parent, which is low challenge, low support, where it's just like you ignore them, and they don't exist. But like the goal is to look at your life and be like, okay, are you high challenge, high support? Are you also giving them the support they need to succeed in the things that you're asking of them, but also asking a lot of them, which I think is totally fair to do. It's like, as long as you also support them. But it's a fun little matrix to do that. It also works well for coaching.
Yeah, for example, she's like just getting into riding a bike. It's a tricycle. And she rode the furthest she's ever ridden to the park, which is like a mile away, and then lost it on the way back.
What do you mean?
And I was like she just gave up.
Right.
And I was like, you gotta, like, this is your bike. And she was like losing it. So I was like playing We Will Rock You. She loves We Will Rock You. And then I could tell, I was like, okay, this is it. Like, she's lost. I was like, make it to there.
Yeah.
I was like, if you make it there, I'll carry it the rest of it. Like, so finding that, right, like, I wasn't going to break her. Yeah. Like, she's 3. She rode over a mile.
Yeah.
But I was like, you also need to learn, like, you can't just quit when you want to quit.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And then I guess, and I also, like we said, just continuing to also live that in your own life makes it much easier to take you seriously. In those ways. I had this little like series of things that do you journal in the mornings?
I've been inconsistent, but I have a journal.
Okay. This little like bit of, I've been doing prompts just as like, I don't normally do them. I just kind of write what's on my mind. It's often tons of ideas. And I actually got like the stone paper journals, so you can journal in the sauna. Like, so they're pretty cool.
Is there? That's cool. Can you send me a link to that?
Yeah. They're cheap on Amazon. They're like $9, but you can like sweat all over them, and then the paper doesn't tear apart. So.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's because it's a challenge.
It's definitely a challenge. But so I've been asking myself these questions, and this is like my checklist in the morning to like kind of set up my day. I go, how was my sleep? And then I can kind of like gauge how things were going. When am I pursuing fitness, and what am I doing? What am I planning on doing as far as food today goes? Am I planning on going off the rails a bit, or am I going to eat healthier? Am I satisfied in my connection with my wife? And is there anything I can do about how that is currently feeling? Am I allowing social or YouTube today? If so, when? And how do I feel right now, physically and mentally? And how do I feel about how I feel?
Yo, you said that on one of our recent team calls.
Yeah.
And I've heard that like quite a few times since then, and it's been really important. I've been thinking about that a lot.
The how you feel about you feel?
Yeah, like how do you feel is one thing, but like your feelings about your feeling is more important.
Yeah. It also came up in a recent video that I was... So, Dr. Mike Israetel on YouTube? He's like that...
I've seen... Yeah, the bald guy that's jacked.
Dude, his videos are awesome. They're really great.
It might have been actually that video that I saw. It was recent that it reminded me of what you had said.
Oh, so he posted one that was, is vanity training for vanity okay?
Oh, well, that's interesting. What do you say?
Well, it's a 40-minute, it's like a 26-minute video where he goes over the positives of training for vanity, the positives of the negatives of training for vanity, and blah blah. But his whole thing is bodybuilding, right? Which is by design training for vanity. You know, like you can do it for health benefits, but more often than not, it's about how you look. So I actually made a 35-minute video responding to his video, and like broke the whole video down. And there's a part in it where he gets super emotional in the end, where he's talking through because he's super smart and he's normally very data driven. But then he has this point where he talks about how one of the positives of training for vanity is that it can heal your soul. And he says, like, if you grew up not having the body that you want, and that was pointed out to you very often, the not having the body that you want is the thing that's bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, but it's not. It's how you felt about the body that you had. It's not having the body, because you could have a great body and still not feel great about it. So it's not having the body or not. It's how you feel about the body. So
Yeah, no, but as someone that trains for aesthetics,
yeah,
it's because I thought about it. You brought it to my attention. I thought about it. I was like, oh, I realized where it comes from. So I grew up loving WWF wrestling,
right,
which were all about bodies.
right,
And once I found wrestling, like for myself, amateur wrestling, I got hooked onto bodybuilding. So I was like, oh, all my idols were bodybuilders. And that's, to this day, like, I train CrossFit, but I am aware of aesthetics.
right. Well, I'm curious for you to go through that video that I made.
I'll watch it. Yeah, go find it.
I haven't posted it yet. I'm still hesitant because it's
All right.
a long deep dive against a guy who I think is brilliant. Anyway, what's the greatest lesson your parents ever taught you?
Oh, I think directly and indirectly, like, make sure you take care of your spouse. So, being a product of divorce, I'm like, okay, I don't want that. So in order to not have it, you have to really work hard in your marriage.
What does that mean to you?
It means compromise. It means listening. It means we do monthly counseling. It means not quitting, right, when things get hard.
Yeah.
Like, I tell her and Roz, and like, I think about, like, you're a teammate. It's no different than Fern, right? Like, my business partner. Like, Fern does things that annoy me all the time, and I'm never like, I'm going to end this partnership, because we're a team. It's part of it. Right. Same thing with the marriage. And I think too many people are just like, well, the grass is greener, I'll end it. Like, I was rolling with a dude today, great guy, he's going through a divorce. I'm like, well, do you guys go to counseling? And he's like, well, we didn't. And I was like, have you thought about it? He's like, it's too late now. I'm like, you're still living together. Like, why is it too late? Like, right. Like, and being vulnerable is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big...
That for you?
What's that?
What's the hardest thing that you've had to, like, compromise on, in terms of, like, what's been the most difficult part of that continued compromise with your wife?
Probably being vulnerable. Like, in any regard, like, whether it's how you're feeling about something, or, putting, mostly that, I suppose, like, just letting her know, like, I'm feeling this way.
Right.
Where it's, like, easier to just, like, for me, my gut reaction is to what I would call, like, turtle up, like, not talk to you.
Right.
Like, so I grew up an only child, and I tell my parents now, like, there was never any, like, how are you doing, right, conversations. So, like, in doing a lot of soul searching recently, it was like, oh, that's why I'm like I am, because when I was going through something, it was just me. I didn't have a sibling that I can go to. I didn't have my parents to go to. Like, your friends are like 14-year-olds old as well. Like, they don't know what they're doing. So it was like, oh, like, I've got to deal with this on my own. Where now I can be like, hey, I want to talk to you about this.
Right. And it took a lot of your life to get there.
Oh, 45 years, yeah. Most of it, yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you about substance use?
Sure.
So, I have a mindset. My father smoked weed for most of my life. I have a very negative perception of it as a tool, and I feel like people use it as a crutch more than like an aid to their lives. And I know I've hung with you a few times now, and I know you're not too shy with your willingness to partake in the occasional marijuana adventure, or a psychedelic adventure.
That said, I haven't done, I hate saying done marijuana. Like I haven't since the games.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So it's been like
Why?
2 months. Honestly, primarily it was my sleep wasn't as good.
Okay.
So to be clear, like I never did any, whether smoking or edibles during the day. Right? It was always like 5 or 6 o'clock would roll around, depending on if I was smoking or doing edibles, when I would do it. Because edibles take like maybe an hour to 2 hours to kick in. Right? So it's like my way. I don't drink. I would say like, at this point, I would say like I never drink.
Right.
So that was kind of my, what's up?
Just like Fern.
Yeah, right. So that was like kind of my like glass of wine at the end of the day. And I was using it as a way to unwind. But then I would realize it was like after the games I got home, Todd came back with us. And I woke up and my eyes were like, there was such bags under them.
Right.
And Roz was like, it's always when you smoke. And I was like, you're right. That was the last day I smoked.
Oh, interesting. And
But
you
I mean,
using it before to like unwind is like your tool.
yeah, like I said, like it was never like, you would never catch me high during the day. Never. But 5 or 6, you could assume I was extremely high.
Okay.
But I was using it, like you said, more like it became a crutch. Like it wasn't like, if I were hanging out with you and you're like, yo, let's dig deep into something, I'd be like, let's pop a couple edibles and do this thing, right? But it was not that. It was like, and I was like using it in my mind to relax and fall asleep. But then in reality, for someone who was trying to optimize their sleep, I'm like, I'm actually getting way worse sleep.
Right.
So it took like, I watched a video on Huberman and he nailed it. He's like, it's going to take a couple days and then you're going to have crazy dreams. And I realized I wasn't dreaming.
Oh. Like you
So
were
he's
never
like, you're
entering
not
those
dreaming.
deeper REM cycles or whatever?
Right. And he's like, but then when you stop, your body's trying to catch up on all that REM sleep and you're just having wicked dreams.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, no, that's not to say I'll never do it again. Like right now, I literally haven't touched it. Like, but it'll be like you're suggesting, like, hey, we're hanging out. Like somebody would casually drink. I will never have a drink just because I really sleep poorly from, like, I feel terrible.
Right.
But I would smoke and have a shitty night's sleep.
Right. Do you think you're ever going to have a hard time telling your kids, like, don't do drugs?
No, because I don't think they shouldn't.
Okay.
And so I would say, like, hey, if you're going to, like, certainly you're not driving, right? Like all that safety stuff. I'm not like, yes, don't be shooting heroin up. But I mean, like, if you want to smoke, like, I don't think you should at this age. I think your brain is still developing, all those things. Like, but I think they're going to do it. Like, my parents, I wouldn't say they were strict, but I was smoking all the time in high school.
Right.
Yeah, I was like on the like I wasn't the guy outside in the parking lot like at high school. Like I was a jock, but still smoked with my friends.
Right. Yeah, and it never landed for me. I always like my body was always so much more important to me in terms of like my ability to perform. And every time I did it, I always just felt like a piece of shit. So I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, it wasn't worth it for me. It was like way more worth it for me to be better at the sports I played than it was for me to like enjoy a night of smoking. That being said, alcohol for me, I metabolized it really well. Like I never got hungover, never did anything like that. So like alcohol was occasionally fun to partake in because I woke up the next morning like, woo, let's go. Like I was stoked. For some reason, like that dehydrated, I wake up just like fired up and ready to hit the day. I probably
like I didn't drink a lot at that age, but I smoked a lot. College, I drank way too much.
Right.
And I smoked way too much. I mean, I was a terrible human being for 4 years.
I mean, we all have our times. We all have our times.
I
Um,
needed it. It made me not want to ever be like that again.
yeah. How would you define masculinity for yourself? Like, if someone's like, define masculinity.
Find masculinity. That's good. I would say somewhere along the lines of like not shying away from hard work.
I like that. I like that.
I know you could be feminine and do hard work too.
Yeah.
So
It's more just your perception of it. It's not
yeah,
it's not like a textbook definition we're looking for, but to you, a man leans into hard work.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think there some physicality. Like I'm 46 and I still fight. Like I'm not like in the UFC. Like, but I spar and I wrestle, and I think there's something valuable in there. I don't know what it is, but it makes me feel more confident when I leave the house.
I think it's capability. I think it's feeling capable, and part of that is physicality. I think there's many forms of feeling capable. I personally think you should feel like you should be able to change a light bulb, and you should be able to take something apart and try to look at it and fix it and things like that.
Yeah, see, I'm not there with that.
I know
yeah.
you're not there, but to me that's a part of manhood and capability. But I also think physical competence in a very base level, like, yeah, I could lift that up, or yeah, I could help you move, or yeah, if I needed to stand in front of someone and like try to protect them, I could, because I do believe part of our role is the protection of our families, like on a very inherent level, even if we'll never find ourselves in that situation. And, given an extreme situation, like there's a 6'6" UFC fighter who wants to beat my family up, they're probably going to beat me, but on a very basic level, if I'm like aware and paying attention, like I feel capable to like intervene and give my family some time to run away, Like,
Yeah. And I'm just, yeah, I mean, like I train and like I almost am always rolling with someone bigger than me because I'm small.
yeah,
And like, and, and it gives me like confidence. Like, hey, this guy that trains, like, he's here with me. We both are training this sport, is struggling to choke me.
Right.
So out on the street, we know you're not going to be conditioned, one, and you don't have the skill, right? So it's like, cool. It's like nice to know. Like, but I also think because of that, I'd never want to get in. Like, I've never like picked a fight in my entire life. Like,
right.
that's not me. Like, I would always try to de-escalate it. But I think that comes from experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never been in a fight, but I've been in a lot of verbal altercations, and usually just gets to the point where we're like, yeah, fight, and then you like leave,
And you're like, it's always been like, the only time I was ever close was during college when I was drunk, right? Like,
and it's the time to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
These days, I couldn't have that be the case. I was talking to someone recently who talked about they were feeling ill-equipped to be manly. And part of it was like when we boiled it down, like they don't do anything to be physical. Like they don't train, and they don't climb, they don't run, they don't play pickleball. Like there's nothing they do that's physical. So I think there's something inherent in being physical that is like necessary for us to feel capable. And I think we all express that in different ways. Some guys go find jujitsu, some guys go to a climbing gym, some guys go do CrossFit, but we have to be doing something. Some people work on a farm and they get out there and they like, do that shit that makes it feel like they're accomplishing stuff. But I think if we don't do that, we're living in a fraction of our capability. And that's just like, it lets our families and ourselves down. We wonder why we're unhappy at times. And it's like, well, I think I have a reason.
Well, and that goes back to your question about like, what do I need to do? It's like, I every day like to feel like I pushed my body in some way.
Yeah.
Like, I go to bed almost every day. Like, I wouldn't say injured. That's not the right word, but like my body's tired.
Yeah.
And I like that feeling.
Yeah.
I love that feeling of laying in bed like, oh, you used me today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do too. I've spent a lot of years not being like that. I got so fit that there's nothing I could do in a day that would make me feel like I was that tired. So like,
what's like a jiu-jitsu would?
Well, jiu-jitsu would for sure.
Yeah.
And so if I joined that, I mean, now I can do anything, but there was a many years. Like now I can do like a 10-minute workout and be like, oh, that's enough for the day, yo. But like, yeah, I think people need to start when they got to start somewhere. They got to do stuff. I keep on going back to like writing stuff down and trying to figure out what is like the hierarchy of what we're supposed to do. Like one was I like hierarchies. I like being like, okay, what's the founding thing? What's the thing if I focus on this, other stuff will be better. Like I did a whole series of, like Greg's pyramid, like the theoretical hierarchies about like I did a whole series of pyramids, like a physical health pyramid. Okay, what sits on the bottom of my physical health pyramid as you work your way up? A mental health pyramid, a intimacy pyramid. What do I need to do in order to express at the top of that? A eating pyramid. Like it was super fun to just break down that way, because like trying to find the root. What's the base thing that I work on? But I was also recently looking at like what our main roles are as parents, and I'm curious what you think. Like, because to me, I listed it out as like, we have to watch. Like, that's part of it. Like, watching is part of what we do. We have to protect, and like, that's part of it. So it sits, and to me, those like both sit separate, because like, you don't just do those unless they're doing something where they need protection. You don't just constantly hover around them and protect. But I think we have to lead. And for me, leading is doing all the things we talk about, improving self, and like focusing on what we can do to be better for ourselves and our family. And then we have to love, like very openly love our partner, which means communicate well, which means, be vulnerable at times, which means also have friends and show them what friendships look like and things like that. And then we have to like guide and teach. And I'm looking at these things, and the three things were lead, love, guide, and teach, and with protect and watch over the side. And I'm like, what percentage, like where should I focus my effort? Like, because I think a lot of parents think like you want to guide and teach them. You constantly need to be like, let me show you the way, or the blah, blah. And I think it's actually like, that's more like a 10% of your effort should be.
I think love is like 80%.
Well, yeah, I think love is huge, but I also think leading, like working on yourself, like,
yeah,
how do you move through the world? Have you examined that, and have you examined how all those interactions go? So I almost think it's like a 40% lead, 40% love, and then like a 20% guide and teach sort of deal.
I'd go
60,
20, 10, 10.
60, 20.
I really think love matters. Like, if your kid, like, if you go down any rabbit hole of people with trauma, it's like, my parents didn't love me.
Right.
And I try to remind Madison, like, when she's having a tantrum, like, hey, I still love you. I don't want to be around you right now, but that doesn't change that I love you. Like, I'll be here when you're done, right? Like, and then I think leading, I think, and a lot of that is silent. Like, we were out the other day, and Madison was like, you're a coach. I was like, how the hell did you know that? Yeah. Like, she's like, and mommy's a coach. I was like, yeah. Or every time I come upstairs, she's like, were you exercising? Because I usually I'm extra. Or she's always like, everything she grabs now, it's like, if she has anything, it's like, I'm doing work. I'm on my computer.
Yeah.
Like, she sees everything.
And oh yeah, they do.
Yeah, so it's really cool. I'm like, so we are leading. Like,
right.
I think hopefully in a good way. Like, not like we're always working, but she sees like our computers are out. Like when I'm upstairs, we have laptops or, but yeah, she knows we're coaching somehow. Like, I don't know how she knew that.
Right.
And she knows we exercise a lot. She comes downstairs, like you mentioned all the time, like, and disrupts our workouts.
Yeah. And she's like, oh gosh.
No, but she's getting better. Like, there's the floor's lava thing that she watches and like plays, like, and I wouldn't say she's exercising, but she's distracted.
She's distracting and doing fun stuff that feels to her like exercise. How does Roz show love? Like, does she express love the same way you do? Hey, I still love you, or blah, blah. Like, what's her form of expressing love to the daughters?
I would say her form of expressing love is acts of service. She will do stuff.
Okay.
So, like I said, like when she takes care of the kids at night, I do believe that's her way of like showing me love. And that's like with counseling what you battle with, where it's like, cool, like I appreciate that, but I also like told her like, but I need to hear once in a while like the things you like about me. Right? Like,
yeah, you're a little words of affirmation there, Jason.
Yeah, like, I didn't realize like I would have told you my love language is only physical touch, which is important. But I'm like, oh, it's also nice to hear like why you like me.
Right. Right. The love languages ones were always interesting for me because it's like, it's just trying to put words to feelings, which it's imperfect by design, but it's like, it's so wonderful when you like pay attention to it and you just start looking at like, oh, the things you're doing for me, that's how you want to be loved. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me try that because that's real hard for me. And like, what's even weirder for me is like, I'm a words of affirmation guy too. Like Taz, like it's very easy for me to tell her how awesome she is and how beautiful she is and how much she means to me and how smart she is. And like, I'm always saying that stuff in front of the kids, but it doesn't mean shit to her, really. It's way more about what I do for her. She's acts of service. If I do acts of service for her, she's like she's all about it. Like little things like dishes and blah, blah, blah. But what I find fascinating is she's trying to do the words of affirmation to me. So she knows that it's my love language and it sounds inauthentic because it's like she's going out of her way to be like, your hair looks so good today. And you're like, oh, does it now? You know, and I know she had that thought, but then the actual saying of it's fake because she wouldn't actually say that to me. So
That's how you start. Like, yeah,
it's how you start though. It's
Yeah.
how you start. And that's been the interesting part is to like hold your tongue and not be like, oh, you know, like.
Well, that's something we do, like, even on the team, right? And I practice with Roz when she's like today, got a haircut. She's like, your hair looks good. I'm like, thank you, right? Like,
Yeah.
you have to, like, she's trying. And our counselor's always like, if you need one, ask. Like, we talked about being vulnerable earlier. I'll be like, hey, you got to say something nice about me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. But then you have to be willing to accept something that's mildly inauthentic, you know? And
Yeah.
we had this, like, I was talking a while ago. I asked her how I could be more desirable to her. And one of the things that I could do was touch her in a non-sexual way, right?
I think that's what Roz says that, yeah.
And I was like, well, here's the hard part. Anytime I touch you, it's gonna be sexual to me, you know, like and I was like, so at first it's gonna be really inauthentic, but once you get through that, it's gonna be something meaningful. And it took like 6 months for like touching to not just be like me being like, oh, I should touch her and it's not sexual and like stroke her back, you know, like whatever it is. But that initial like stumbling block, I could see many people not wanting to fight through it of like, this feels fake because it is fake initially. Anyway, what would you say is your most one of your recent successes with your kids? We'll finish off a couple of these.
Recent success. Madison loves wrestling at night. So
Hell yeah.
just when she's like, hey, let's go wrestle.
That's awesome. That's freaking awesome. And then what's a recent difficulty that you guys going through?
Them letting me put them. So if Roz is around, they won't let me do bedtime. I would say Madison.
Right.
So essentially, Roz has to go hide. And then no problem. But if she's around, they won't let me do it. So getting through the point where it's just like, hey, I'm here and I could do it even though mom is still here.
Got it. I've been there too. Good fun. But it's so easy when the mom's not around.
When she's not around, it's like smooth, fun, relaxing. Yeah, it's great.
Lastly, what's one thing that you've learned as a father that you wouldn't have been able to learn otherwise? So like, what's one thing that becoming a father has taught you that you probably wouldn't have learned without it?
Patience. I don't think I would have. I still struggle with it, but just taking deep breaths and being patient.
Yeah, man. I'm with you on that. Well, rad. I think we're done. Let me know.
Cool. I gotta go hop on a call with Lee.
Perfect. Where can people find you if they want to see your amazingness?
Anywhere on the internet.
On the internet, look up
On the
Jason
internet. Google me.
the Ackerman.
Yeah. There's a tattoo artist named Jason Ackerman. That's not me.
Is there? Is he good?
It looks pretty good. Yeah. He's got all the like JasonAckerman.coms.
Oh,
So
shucks.
if you search me with CrossFit, I come up more.
Okay, Jason Ackerman CrossFit. All right, man. Well, thank you for this.
Thanks, Pat.
All right, later.
I gotta stick around until this uploads, right?